So much drama. I hate drama. I hate drama, chaos. It's horrible. How's your week been? Oh, sounds yummy. It almost sounds like Thanksgiving. Parsnips are so good. They have a unique flavor. Oh, it's good that you cook for yourself. I was listening to I was listening to a YouTube creator who was reviewing a lot of TikToks and how a lot of these young people they spend so much money on their cars and on eating out, and some of them don't even know how to cook. I mean, how could you not know how to cook in your 30s? That it's nice, and hopefully you can save some for the next day, as long as nobody's getting into your food. My mother used to cook with parsnips a lot. She would make like a chicken broth, and she'd throw everything into it. Hi, 1-2. Hi, City of Fullerton gang stalking. Well, that tells everybody exactly where you are. Is that California? Hi, Vicky. Welcome, welcome. Remember to hit the thumbs up when you come in. Is the City of Fullerton, is that the one in California? Yes, California. City of Fullerton gang stalking. Yes. Well, I forget his name. That YouTube creator. Is it the Fullerton Informer? He's in California. He's driving around and giving commentary on things. There used to be a YouTube creator I like to watch, and she just disappeared. Her name was Jane Tandy. She would report on, yes, that's him, Joe Imbriano. Yes, 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 that's him. Yes, the nice Italian man. Yes, that was his. That's him. Oh yes, he's very very passionate. Yes. Yeah, there was this a woman, Jane Tandy, and she would talk about what was going on in the skies, and then she just disappeared. I don't know if she was being harassed or, I don't know. A lot of times, people will move and they'll stop their YouTube channel and they'll start over somewhere else. Well, I understand what you're saying, but about that it happens wherever you move. When you're being gang stalked, when you're being harassed, when you're being tormented, when you're in the program, it doesn't matter where you move. However, um, it was very bad in New Jersey, but I was extremely comfortable in New Jersey. I knew so many people. My life was actually very easy in New Jersey because I had a house. When I was being targeted, I had a huge house, so I could move around in the house. Hi, River Bluff. I didn't have to go outside to feed chickens and stuff like that. So my life here is very difficult. It's a hard living here, very hard living here. And the level of property damage is literally off the charts. Um, It's not even repairable. Some of what they have done is irreparable, like, I would have to hire like an architect, like a landscape architect to redo some of the damage that they've done. Plant a channel, let's see, oh, that's interesting, I've not heard of that one. Plant abundant, I'm gonna write it down. Yeah, I'm always interested to check out new channels. I don't always have time, but I'm subscribed to too many channels now, some of which I'm probably going to unsub to. Um, it occurred to me, and that's why hence the heading of this live stream is everybody tells us that there's the white dog disappeared. And that's what usually happens. They are controlled. These animals are controlled. So it was here wild like crazy, running after my chickens, panting, panting. It was like 80 something degrees. So the dog was probably hot after running around in the sun, in the heat. And then it just disappeared. Well, it disappeared. Like I sprayed him with dog spray. I didn't get him in the face or whatever. I got him in the side. He didn't like that very much. And I was afraid he was going to get more of my chickens. One of my girls actually got away. I was shocked. Like he actually bit into her. The last time this happened, the only reason one of my girlies got away is she was wearing an apron, and the dog bit into her back and bit halfway through the denim apron that she was wearing. Otherwise, he would have killed her. See, I have no interest in having other people's animals on my property. I mean, my neighbors have no problem shooting a cat on their property. Spray with a water hose. Well, it would mean like that the hose would have to be where the dog is. So I live in a rural area. It's not that easy. Hi, Shelley. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, so I understand that it happens wherever you go, but I need a different kind of house, different kind of property. I'm not young anymore, and the amount of acreage that I have to care for here, and the fact that these criminals are hiding out on my property, they're literally on my property 24/7. I can go into a building and they're running around going into another building. I hear the horns honking in the background, signaling to the person running around on my property. So no, like here it's very different. It's very, very different. If I had another person here, it would be very different. I can't get an electric fence here. I've got too many animals and I've got too much land. And also they can disable the electricity just the way they disable my Wi-Fi and stuff. And I don't really want to pay any more. The electric here is very costly. So no, I'm not going to do that. I have wildlife. I've got a fox, other creatures on the property. Yes, 100% they are on my property 24/7. And I do have evidence. I have a lot of evidence, but who are you going to send it to? So, I mean, the primary way to get the information out there would be with a citizen journalist, somebody who's going to run with the story. But these people, a lot of times they get bribed. My phone's hacked. Yeah, so it's not the best situation. Living in a more suburban area, even though there are more people physically, they can't co-opt in the suburbs. They can't pay all of those people. There are too many people. Like in New Jersey, they co-opted, certain the neighborhood gang stalkers. I could come and go as I please, go in and out of stores, no problem. My food was not poisoned at stores. Yes, they were getting into my house. They were doing horrible things to my animals and in the house and my personal belongings. But I had a big house. It was very comfortable. It's not comfortable here. And what they're doing to my property is they're creating a lot of mud situations by tearing up all my grass. So, exactly. Con artist says the things that I experience on my property, they would have to be always present to do it. And they are. They are literally here 24/7. And they set off motion lights also. That's why they tore down like six of them. They set them off in the distance. Nobody else around, but that's how they're doing damage on my property. And they're using energy weapons on my landscape. They burnt out a lot of the grass, which is ridiculous. I'm here 6 years. It doesn't matter. I could not have rain for 3 weeks at a time, and it would make no difference. That's very interesting, Kay Vicky. Yes, she says, I think they're more vicious, more desperate in rural. It was worse in the Poconos than in Monmouth County. Yes, I agree with that 100%. I agree. And also the difference between Monmouth County and here is in Monmouth County, it's sort of like New York City. You have a melting pot. So you've got people of all different ethnicities, all different educational levels. People are highly educated because in order to afford to live in Monmouth County, you have to be earning, you have to be earning a good salary. People there take care of their homes, they take care of their property, they take care of their animals for the most part. It's not like that here. Although there are people here that I don't drive around to really see. But I'm sure there are people here. Hi Annie, welcome. That care for their property. Yes, the rural isolation plays a part in it. Of course. And most of the people they've been living here for a long time. They are literally a gang. They are a bunch of predators. And most of the people that live in rural areas compared to the suburbs have larger families. They appear to have larger families. Like in New Jersey, there were a lot of families that had only one child. And then, of course, there were the ones that had three. There were a lot of families that had three, um, 2 and 3 children. Oh, well, yeah, welcome, Annie. Thank you for listening. Oh, I have the live every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern. It's pretty much the only time I have the live. It's um it's really the only time that I have time to do it. What kind of assistance do you need? Because perhaps other people can help you out too. And what state are you in? Yeah, there's a huge difference between rural and the suburbs, and I can't even imagine what it would be like in the city. I would never go and live in the city again. I did it for I don't know. I lived in New York City for like I don't know, maybe a year and a half. No, I'm no longer. Oh yeah, 1, 2. Yeah, there are actually a lot of people in New Jersey that are targeted. Oh, Annie's in Washington. 1, 2 is in Illinois. Con artist is in New Zealand. I'm here in Kentucky. I did live in New Jersey, and then I lived in New York also. But it occurred to me, and I've thought about this before, how everybody says that we don't have due process, that nobody can help us. Well, doesn't that scream that we're on a watch list? So How could the FBI not be able to confirm or deny we're on any list when we have no due process? That doesn't make any sense. Like that, you drive for a living. You need a civil litigation lawyer real soon. You're needing help with your rent in a week. I you're not going to get a lawyer. If you need help with your rent, you're not going to be able to afford an attorney. The best you could do is to go to ChatGPT and have ChatGPT draft you a letter to your landlord about your rent. And this is the way I see it, and I've noticed this like even throughout the legal system in New Jersey, is that if you pay something, like if you pay nothing, you'll get kicked out. And it's the same thing with traffic tickets or paying your child support. If you pay nothing, you're in trouble. But if you're paying something, it shows good faith. Oh, you're in a motel. Hi, Kevin. Welcome. The UN website has a link, not a web page, to a document on gang stalking. I found this by looking up the term brighting. Oh, that's so interesting. Do you have a link to the website that you can post? Oh, Shelly, yeah, I did that also. I got that too. I remember taking a screenshot of it. It's like, oh, look, I'm on a government watch list. But there are millions of us on a watch list. Yeah, Kevin, if you can find it, because what happens with those large websites is they'll have something up there and then it disappears, sort of like the ACLU. They used to have information on, on gang stalking, but you're not going to find that anymore. Oh no, the cops don't help. They're told to not help us. They're told to not help, to back off, or they participate. So, it's so interesting when you talk about the one headlight. It actually wasn't until a few months ago that that I even knew what the one headlight meant. So it totally meant nothing to me all in New Jersey. I just thought that those people are gonna get a traffic ticket for not having 2 headlights because, New Jersey, you get a lot of traffic tickets. It never occurred to me that it was part of the gang stalking until I moved here and I recorded a video, and there was a car approaching me with one headlight, and one of you guys pointed it out. It's like I never noticed that before. Like, it doesn't mean anything to me. Besides the fact that I don't drive very much, so I just think that, like, if you're driving around with one headlight, you're gonna get pulled over. Hi, Mark, welcome. For dogs and trespassers, get a paintball gun filled with pepper balls. Oh, oh, that's interesting. Now, with those pepper balls, I mean, is it toxic, like, for the ground? Like, I've got a lot of animals on the property. There usually with every police department, every police department has a different number of officers. I would venture a guess, and I don't know, I don't know for sure, but at least in New Jersey, not all of those officers were involved. There was a group of about 8 or 9 of them that were involved. And then there were the peripheral ones that knew about it but weren't really participating. And then there are the other ones that were not involved at all. So I'm going to say they maybe had like 35 officers. So exactly, con artists. The one headlight symbology is the eye of Horus, which means that we are watching you. Yes. Annie, this really isn't the place. I'm sorry, but we're all targeted people here. And I don't think there's anybody on this list that's going to be able to rescue you like Cinderella. I'm sorry. The gang stalkers are the wicked witches of the West. Oh, that's interesting. The paintballs, the whole pepper spray. Okay. Yeah, I ended up buying the dog spray. I guess it's I don't know if it's pepper spray. I bought the dog spray. Yes, that all-seeing eye, they actually will burn it. They can burn it. They've burned it into the pine knotted wood here to make it appear as if it's like a knot when it's not, when it's NOT, when it's not. So once he says, yep, they have the power source, which is controlled by a simple toggle switch. They use door magnets too to gaslight you. You'll see your name, mowing service, for example, then 5 minutes you'll see them again with Jill's cleaning service magnets on the car door. Oh, that's interesting. Well, in New Jersey, I was going into the post office. I've mentioned this before a few times. And there was a woman walking out of the post office wearing a black t-shirt, and on it said chosen one. And it was that. Hi, Fred. Welcome. I agree. Cops should not wear uniforms if they're not interested in defending innocence. Good point. Good point. Polar bear bestie. That's a cute name. Yeah, pray, meditate, pray. If you don't know how, look it up. I've been there. Fear not. They feed off of your fear. Yes, that's a good point about the pineal gland there. Hi, Elsie. Welcome, welcome. Yes, remember to hit the thumbs up, everybody. I see 26 people, but I do know that there are several people that listen and that are not actually in the chat. Well, welcome, Polar Bear Bestie. That's a cute name. And also, when it comes to being in really bad situations, back in New Jersey, I'm not sure if I was being targeted at the time, but things were really bad. My ex-husband wasn't paying support and stuff, and I started writing a journal of things that I was grateful for. Because everything's not so horrible because you're still breathing, you're still here. So keeping a journal of what you're grateful for and listening to positive messages and repeating them over and over and over again. Sort of like there was that childhood cartoon, The Little Engine That Could. And this little engine it just couldn't muster up the energy to get up a hill. And then another engine says, well, if you think that you can, that you will. Like, just keep repeating, I think I can, I think I can. License plates. They'll print your initials with the year of birth, for example. Simple. Yes, there's a driver around here that has my former New Jersey area code. Oh, well, that's great, Annie. That's great. You could even self-publish it too. That would be amazing. Is the book on targeting? Welcome, welcome, everybody. Remember to hit the thumbs up. Yes, so the eye of Horus, in terms of esoteric, is the Enochian eye, a form of third eye known as the pineal gland. Yes. And that's why they target you there. They target a lot of targeted people. If you go to your third eye, a lot of times you'll feel a depression there because they target you while you're sleeping. Well, the best thing to do, Annie, would be to start your own YouTube channel. And if you've written a book and if it's about your life, you can read the chapters on your YouTube channel and then point people to buy it. Yeah, the license plates, I've seen that with the license plates. They'll use the t-shirts, the colors and stuff. I mean, some of it just kind of goes over my head because I'm not a big driver. There are there are not a lot of people around here. Like I noticed it more in New Jersey. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea that anybody who's targeted to have a YouTube channel or a Facebook. I don't like Facebook anymore, but so many people are on there. Get yourself a YouTube channel and read your book online. And the sticky paper tends to pull up on the corner so you can see it. Oh, when they change their license plates. Hi, Kaylee. Welcome, welcome. We're talking about the ways that these stalkers hide change their license plates according to our birthdays. Like there's a local license plate here that says 732, which is my former area code. Oh, good. Oh, I didn't know you're a writer too. I think it's a great idea to start your own channel and read your testimony and stuff. You're always welcome to provide your testimony to me, and I'll read it on my channel. It could either be written or you can um, we can do an interview. I don't have a lot of time, like time slots, because my time is so crazy. I hear I hear raccoons are crunching cat food on the porch. Oh, you want to do the audio? That would be fine. I mean, we could do it over the phone. It could be like a testimony interview or something like that. And I would record it here and then I would upload it. And then, of course, you can, when you have your channel, you can always re-upload it to your channel. If you wanted to read some of your book, you can do that. They do all kinds of stuff in California with license plates. I would imagine you have, like, your population is huge there. I mean, with such a large population, they'd have to have a way of knowing, like, identifying the stalkers. They'd have to do it by license plates or colors or something. Hi, his girl, welcome. Yes, I have raccoons. You're absolutely right. Folks are targeted for different reasons, and we not only that, but I firmly believe, and nobody's confirmed this yet. Nobody has validated that this could be the case. So let's say I'm fortunate enough to piss somebody off like 20 years ago, but I don't get placed on the list until like 2009. And then let's say a few years later, I piss somebody else off, who's in a position to put me on another list. I believe that there could be two, there could be like a concurrent, overlapping form of targeting. Oh, you live in Arkansas. Well, you can use a pen name also. You don't have to use your real name. And there are other targeted people that have written books, and they have not used their full name. I mean, some have. I mean, most have, but some have not. When I was looking through, I have a file on targeting. I was going to read this. This is about contractors, by Michael Loris, Loris. And this is I think this was, I don't know, this may have been on Quora like a few years ago, and I saved it. He says, the private intelligence contractors of the military industrial intelligence complex and the international banking cartel have absolutely ruined our nation and are fully responsible for bringing us to this point. These men and women are terrorist traffickers, frame up artists, assassins, money launderers, and spies. They have betrayed the American people and placed all of our lives in very serious danger by fomenting this war and manipulating and engineering everything that we have lived through since the 2016 election. These contractors are war criminals. They also targeted and framed thousands upon thousands of totally innocent U.S. citizens starting several years before the election to prepare a mass incarceration event of citizen whistleblowers, individuals feared to know too much about their activities, political opponents, and others who were either simply in the wrong place at the wrong time or selected based upon assumptions about their DNA and genealogical history. Some of their victims were selected to be patsied through electronic fraud, the planting of fabricated evidence and deep fakes, stage encounters, some with foreign assets who posed as that other than they were to just trick the targets into interacting with them so FISAs could be launched. And voice morphing technology, which is extremely inexpensive in today's world, these rogue intel contractors are all guilty of crimes against humanity. These targets were set up to be taken as fall guys, collateral, and prisoners of war. And I will say that on this portion, staged encounters with foreign assets who posed as other than they were to trick the targets into interacting with them, many targeted people have reported receiving text messages from other countries, never responds. It's something that I saved, okay, Vicky. A man named Michael Loris, Loris, and it was something that I saved that I located on Quora a few years ago. So I thought it was really interesting. Like, I've got a folder on targeted resources, and I always forget what's in there. So I was going through it today because I really need. Hi, Jewel Pop. Yes, yes. Jewel Pop says, not leaving your house? Loud motorcycles, cars running on flat tires and beeping, all synchronized with your movements and routines in the house. That's probably true too. The thing is, when I'm in my house, I don't pay attention mostly to what's going on outside. But what I do notice is that my chickens and guineas will start to really act up, and I'll run outside and I don't see anything. And it's usually one of the criminals, one of the cloaked inhumane team. Is there much? Oh, yes, Kevin. Yeah, absolutely. Quora has tons of information on targeted individuals and gang stalking, tons. And I have a page there called Learning and Research for Targeted Individuals. Most of what I post there is what's on my channel. I just, copy it over there. Yeah, River Bluff, tell us about your theories because, we need to brainstorm. They watch movement through your phone and smart meter. You know what I've noticed? When I'm inside my house mostly, and let's say I have nothing on, like I've got no music on, no podcasts in the background, just going about doing my chores. And maybe I'll get into that state, the default state where you can create. Invariably, it's like they're mapping your brain. The phone will ring with a prank phone call, that I've already marked. So, like, if the phone number pops up, I can see, hi, business owners, welcome. So, River Bluff is saying, I've mentioned one or two before, but this is my main theory about what these people are. I think some of us watched Sabrina Wallace, but I have not watched her in a while. And honestly, when I listen to her, I get so upset. And it's not because of her, it's because of the information that she's telling us. The first time I heard about like the network, I was so upset. I couldn't listen to it anymore. But she's very interesting. Her videos are interesting and fascinating, and she was a network engineer. Um, she's not necessarily on YouTube anymore. I think she gets blocked on YouTube, but she's on Rumble and I believe BitChute. Oh, when I hired a private investigator, okay, what happened was when I hired a private investigator, before he even got to my house, I had a phone conversation with him, and the criminals in my phone turned on FaceTime so that they could see his face. So they were on him immediately, and he and I discussed inside of my house, in the privacy of my own home, about doing a sweep of my house. That night, my house was broken into. Oh, so River Bluffs, one of his theories is they're not fully human. The only way you can watch Sabrina Wallace on YouTube is if other people have reposted her videos. I think I have one of her videos that I've reposted. But what happens is downloading from Rumble and then trying to upload to YouTube, they're different formats. Hi, Mr. E. God's peace and blessings. He serves vengeance. It's closer. And the demons know. Wow. I got no response after I told him about stalking phone. COINTELPRO gang stalkers. Asked Dallas. No callback, but want like $6,600. $6,600. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Hi, Nick. Welcome. The criminals cut your phone call when you said that Charlie Kirk's assassination was fake. Elsie says, heard today that the list we're on has a level 35 clearance and called restricted access special access program. Yes, actually, ChatGPT told me that, which is why if we FOIA request anything, unless we have somebody with that level of clearance searching for our files, they'll never find it. Plus, the file's not going to have our name on it. We're going to be a number. We're going to be like a special coded file. So they'll never be able to find it. So that's why whomever you FOIA request can't confirm or deny we're on a list. Because one, the person searching does not have that level of clearance. And two, even if they had that level of clearance, they would have to locate the folder and it would not have our name on it. It would be in a separate, it would probably be in a separate folder, let's say called TIs. And then within that folder, there would be files with numbers. And then the number would probably have, let's say, part of our last name on it or something like that, or maybe our state. It would definitely be, oh, we have a QR code. That's possible too. That's very possible. Yes, a little frowny face. It could be a QR code. Presidential level is 17. Oh, presidential level is 17. Okay. Oh, the FBI never answered you? I actually did receive a response from the FBI. They can't confirm or deny that I'm on a list in the name of national security. New Jersey said that too. And here in Kentucky, they did. Fortunately, they didn't say that. They basically said they have nothing. They have no information on me, even though I've filed multiple complaints with the Attorney General, the Department of Justice, um, the Better Business Bureau, the Veterinary Board. They have no information on me. So obviously, their information sharing skills are not. They need to go back for some additional training. So many believe it was real. What do you think of writing to the mayor? I've written. I wrote to the mayor in New Jersey. That was useless. 46 years knowing drug corruption of my 50. Oh, River Bluff says the FBI answered him. Listened for 30 seconds, then hung up on me after seeming annoyed. I was hung up on in New Jersey too. I didn't even know what was going on at the time. I was like appalled that they hung up on me. Like it's so unprofessional. Remember to hit the thumbs up when you come in, guys. Shelley says nobody's going to risk getting targeted by helping you. The thing is, almost everybody's targeted somehow. I mean, not like being on a list, but everybody's targeted somehow. If you take pharmaceutical drugs, any kind, you're targeted. If you take any illegal substances, if you eat a lot of junk food, you're going to be targeted more. If store clerk helps me, they're transferred out. Really? Wow, that's pretty bad. Nick says the FBI refused to investigate interstate transportation of my stolen property. Asked if I was making. Oh, goodness. They asked you if you were making T threats because you wanted your property back. That's ridiculous. Look up Boys on the Tracks. It has a new Mexico connection. My dad was a train engineer, was turning in big dealers, but yeah, it's corrupt like Boys on the Tracks. I've never heard of that. I don't know what that is. Oh, you went to the march. Oh, well, good for you. So, what happened? Oh, that's terrible, Shelley. She said the Walmart phone girl got removed. She had 6 dogs to feed. I feel so guilty. River Bluff says, going to cops got old quick. Got tired of being asked if I needed mental health services. I'm just going to go look out the door and see if Zoomies around. 1 second. Zoomy. Hi. Hi, I know. Some of your friends are gone. Oh well. Zoom. They're messing with your phone. Business owner says step 1, file FOIA request with the file administrator paperwork. Step 3, file $10,000 claim for denial of information. File every month. I know TIs that live off this $10,000. Does that really are you really getting paid? File a FOIA. Who are you filing a FOIA request with? Hi, Matthew. Welcome. Remember to hit the thumbs up when you guys come in. Yeah, I'm not familiar with the Boys on the Tracks. Is that a YouTube channel? Oh. Oh, I see. Yeah, I'm not sure. Business owner is saying to file a FOIA request, but file a FOIA request with who? File administrator paperwork. File a claim for denial of information. File every month. So when they were at the march, day one, they were at the White House. Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you for letting me know, Shelley. The creepy voice demon is not as loud tonight. Kevin says that story relates to Bill and Hill in Arkansas. Forget the details, but they're involved in some way. The best channel for Boys on the Tracks, Carnage on Ice. But heavily redacted, but it's all true. Yeah, I'm not sure who you're referring to when you say Bill. Bill and Hill in Arkansas. Is that a YouTube channel? Oh, 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 okay. Yeah, I don't like to mention those names. Okay, gotcha. Let's say the second day of the rally, they went to the FBI building. They caught the FBI and security detail. FBI director was shook. Banners had his picture with Havana syndrome picture. That's funny. Yes, the ex-president. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Okay, I was a little slow here. I didn't know who you were referring to. The ex-president, yes. Yeah, that yes. Hillary, yes. Yeah, she hasn't been in the news at all. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like her. I have to say she's a lot like the head of that feral cat national group. Well, there are a lot of like, it's just pure evil. Okay, so the business owner says file FOIA with any agency. File a claim for $10,000 for denial of information of any agency. Oh, you mean like the fusion centers that said that they have no information on me? Maybe I'll do that. I mean, how does that work when you file a claim for denial of information? Exactly, Matthew. Yeah, I don't like to just have that conversation at all. So let's see, day 3, they were at the Washington Memorial. All new people picked up flyers from the event. That's good. Well, I'm definitely going to look into filing for denial of information. And that's also creating a paper trail, too. Let's see, there are several different conversations going on here. The guy who made the ultimate documentary on is still alive, and all the gory details are there. Okay, well, that's good to know. Okay, let's see. The original name of the document is Obstruction of Justice, the Menya Connection. Nobody wants to live forever. The Bible warns those who try to preserve it will lose it. And that's what they do. I mean, some of these, I call them deletes. Like they live a really long time. I don't know why anybody would want to live that long. There was something else that I wanted to read. Let's see. Day 3 was at the Jefferson Memorial, 300 people sitting down. It was like a rock concert for new people, lots of flyers passed out. That's good to know. That's good. It sounds like it was successful. Yes, Polar Bear Bestie says greed, power, and selfish. Yes. Does anyone know how you can't hear me? Can you hear me? Does anybody know how Bill from the Gates of Hell, do you know how old he is? Can you hear me, guys? You can't hear me? I don't understand why. You can. Some people can, some people can't. Okay. So some people can, some people can. So that means that if you can't hear me, it might be on your side. Okay, good. Yes, okay, good. They were, what happens is sometimes even when I'm listening to YouTube, sometimes the sound will disappear for a minute or a few seconds and then come back. Okay, good. Now, do you hear the creepy voice? Well, there was something else that I wanted to read. Maybe I'll read a little bit of it tonight because I really do want to record it as a separate video. And just because hi, Shelley, welcome back. It's 10 pages long. Obviously, I'm not going to read all of that, but I wanted to read a little bit about it because this guy disappeared. I don't know if he was threatened or whatever, but he was a medical doctor named Dr. Daniel Liebowitz. And this was back in December 2014. He had a presentation submitted to the Senate hearing on the state of civil and human rights in the United States. So I'm going to read a little bit about that because it was related to targeted individuals. Okay, you can hear. Just remember to hit the thumbs up, guys. I don't know, there are 35, it says 35 people are listening. He's real other people. Okay. Let's see. Day 4, they were back at the FBI building. The FBI people were shook. We were right at the entrance to their underground parking lot. Cars were begging us not to take pictures of their license plates. That's funny. They're not very popular people these days. I'd like to think that there are still like a bunch of good people at the FBI, but so many of the really good ones have left and have their own YouTube channels. Or Rumble channels, basically. Rumble. They're not real much on YouTube. Except for interviews. Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit about what Dr. Daniel Liebowitz, he says, I am a medical doctor. Over the past 2 years, I have worked with human rights organizations called Freedom from Covert Harassment and Surveillance, or FFCHS. People in this organization state that they are being targeted by an illegal and unethical government program that represents a modern version of COINTELPRO and MK Ultra combined. These victims call themselves targeted individuals or TIs. I have worked with the leadership of FFCHS and I have worked with the medical committee as well as with the board of directors. And as a result, I have communicated with hundreds of self described targeted individuals. Additionally, I have worked with two other activist physicians on behalf of targeted individuals, Dr. John Hall and Dr. Terry Robertson. I have also worked with Dr. Robert Duncan, a scientist turned whistleblower, who states that he has worked on some of the very weapon systems that are being used in the remote electronic harassment that many targeted individuals say they experience. My presentation today is entitled Targeted Individuals, Covert Repression in the 21st Century. And this is the overview. To understand the targeted individual phenomenon, you need to understand several things about it. You need to understand the societal and political and human rights trends which allow it to occur. You need to understand what the program is. You need to understand what the goals and the purpose of the program are. You need to understand who gets targeted. You need to understand where the program came from. In other words, compare it to counterintelligence programs and unethical human experimentation of the past. And you need to understand the implications of the program and what it means for the future. And finally, we'll take a look at what must be done about it. The state of human and civil rights in the United States, the emerging police and surveillance state. In the United States, in short, we are seeing the emergence of a police and surveillance state. Former President Jimmy Carter recently wrote in the New York Times, the United States is abandoning its role as the global champion of human rights. In this article, Carter points out that the top U.S. officials are now openly targeting U.S. citizens for political assassination, disappearance, quote unquote, unlimited surveillance, and other forms of gross human rights abuse. Are people prepared to call a former U.S. president a conspiracy theorist? Or has the United States strayed far from its roots as a democracy where rule of law and human rights are uniformly respected? The program. What is the targeted individual program that these people are complaining about? It is many things all at once. It is a discrediting and disruption campaign similar to COINTELPRO. In some cases, but not all, it is torture, trauma-based, brainwashing, and mind control program like MKUltra. It is a secret form of repression, persecution, and psychological warfare carried out in the community by largely regular people along the lines of Stasi or Zersetzen torture. It is a political abuse of psychiatry. It has been carried out in many countries as a way to torture and discredit dissidents. Finally, it is unethical, non-consensual human experimentation on unwitting subjects with advanced directed energy and psychotronic weapon systems. Overall, it represents coming together of the most vicious and effective tools and weapons for covert harassment and political control of dissidents, activists, whistleblowers, agitators, and other so-called undesirables that the world has ever seen. What are the goals and purposes of the program? Again, there are many, but in a word, the neutralization of the target. Let's start with understanding the mindset of the state. President Obama's information czar, former Harvard law professor Cass Sunstein, co-authored a paper in 2008 which advocated that the government should cognitively infiltrate and disable those who have ideas the government finds threatening. For example, let's see, I just lost my place. Um, um, um. Okay, President Obama's information czar, the former Harvard Law professor Cass Sunstein, co authored a paper in 2018 advocated that the government should cognitively infiltrate. Okay, I just read that. Now, at a minimum, this suggests running illegal COINTELPRO type disruption campaigns against people. This is a big bold print here. But more interestingly, let's parse the words carefully. Cognitively infiltrate and disable. Cognition refers to the mind or to thought. Infiltrate means to penetrate with hostile intent. So, literally, this means to penetrate the minds or thought processes of the so called quote unquote troublesome individuals with the intent to disable them. Fascinating in light of what targeted individuals say that they experience. So, I'm just going to look at the chat and see what I'm missing before I continue reading. Hi, SCL. Welcome, welcome. I'm not sure if the doctor is in South Florida. This was back in 2016. And if I scroll down, it might say more about where he's located. Yes, he was the only doctor who would fairly document and diagnose targeted people. Oh, okay, so he's in South Florida. Somebody said he's in South Florida. We have not heard from him or about him in a long time. And this happens sometimes when somebody speaks out like this. I'm reading from, let me scroll up. I'm going to lose my place here. It's a presentation submitted to the Senate hearing on the state of civil and human rights in the United States. Here, I'll just cut and paste this in the chat. And I'll write his name in the chat too. And this is 10 pages, by the way. Let me scroll down to the last page and see if there's anything down there that needs to be mentioned. So basically, he has it sectioned out on the last page what needs to be done about the program. And maybe I'll read this now. Several things. First of all, targets must speak out, especially those who still have their wits about them. This program is highly disruptive. It's specifically designed to make even the most solid citizen look as if they have become delusional. Compounding this problem, many targets are either forced to or willingly take powerful psychiatric medications in hopes of decreasing the severe attacks that they are suffering or to appease skeptical friends and family members. In the case of real mental illness, this should resolve the symptoms. In the case of TIs, it does not stop the torture and the harassment and manipulation in their lives. It does not stop any of it. So that leads to the next point. If you know someone who this is happening to, don't count them as crazy. They may be a victim of this program. Realize that the issues that they were speaking about before they got to their current situation are still just as valid now as they were before. In fact, it was probably the very legitimacy of their issues that led powerful forces to want to discredit them so thoroughly. Remember that. Whistleblowers must come forward who are aware of this program. Fearless journalists must pursue the story. It was investigative journalists who brought widespread attention to MKUltra, COINTELPRO, and much of the unethical experimentation that has occurred in the USA. Targets must come together. There is strength in numbers. Targets should never give up the fight. Finally, Congress must thoroughly investigate the intelligence agencies, the DoD research programs, and black operations. The targeted individual program is happening. It's not science fiction. It needs to be exposed and shut down forever. So he writes, thank you for your attention. And this is page 10 of 10 pages. So yes, everybody needs to have a YouTube channel. Get the message out there. Speak your truth. Right, whistleblowers unite. No, we're not crazy. They're the crazy ones. It's a projection. Oh, you watched it? It's on YouTube? I never thought to look on YouTube to see if he has a presentation here. Hi, Forethought. Welcome, welcome. Let's see, just stacking upon stacking at this point. Every time they appoint a czar, its true role is 180 degrees opposite. I agree, Fred. Only crazy people get entertainment from torturing people. Well, yeah, they're sadistic. There are people with a sadistic personality type. So let me get back to the beginning that I was reading. Okay, let's see. Okay, so literally this means to penetrate the minds and thought processes of the so-called troublesome individuals with the intent to disable them. Fascinating in light of what targeted individuals say that they're experiencing. More specifically, what are the goals of the program? And so many people ask that, like, what are the goals of the program? 1, force the target to stop unacceptable activity, whistleblowing, activism, exposing corruption, etc. Silence the target both about their original activism and about their targeting. 2, subject the target to noise campaigns, swarming, colors, and repetitive behaviors as a form of harassment. Number 3, attack any psychological weaknesses. Cause the target to blame themselves for targeting and as such destroy the will to fight back. Create a track record of so-called mental illness useful for both discrediting and plausible deniability. Number 5, discredit the target. Isolate the target from all forms of support using secret notifications, slander, and covert harassment carried out largely by regular people. That would be your neighbors. That would be your local guys and girls. and their children and their dogs. Encourage the target to lose hope and lash out in suicidal or homicidal rage secondary to covert harassment and destruction of the target's life. 8. Set the target up for possible institutionalization or arrest. Encourage the target to lose hope and lash out. I know I read that. Set the target up for possible institutionalization or arrest. Damage or ruin the career and or finances. In some cases, break up the family. Isn't that horrible? Break up the family. In some cases, cause the target to lose their home. 10. After breaking the target's will to fight, in some cases, attempt to change the mindset, politics, ethics of the target. Create a mindset that's more useful to the state. Evaluate the potential for corruption or even recruitment. To summarize, the goal is the neutralization of the target. Exactly the goal pursued by the former COINTELPRO. So, who gets targeted by this program? There's a lot of overlap with COINTELPRO. COINTELPRO targeted, quote unquote, perceived threats to the established political and social order, which in practice during COINTELPRO meant primarily those pursuing greater social and economic equality, peace activists, dissidents, so-called unfriendly politicians, and even nonconformists. Excuse me. In some cases, it can be proven that counterintelligence operations have been undertaken against those aware of high-level criminality or wrongdoing. I don't know, these days there's so much high-level criminality and wrongdoing. I mean, just filing any kind of a complaint, right? Like everyone else, many targets have weaknesses, foibles, flaws, problems. Some have addictions. Any perceived weaknesses, manufactured, real, or exaggerated, are used viciously to aid in the discrediting of the target. Let's learn from the actual examples of people who became targets for covert operations. Well, how about when our local sheriff here falsifies a FOIA request and incident report? I report my nonprofit cat rescue building broken into, and the eyes of all the kittens were harmed. It just happened to have been on May Day, you know, the high Luciferian witchy poo holiday where they like to sacrifice animals. They love to target their eyes, resulting in the death of 3 kittens. So I FOIA requested. Does the sheriff write that in the report? Not at all. Writes animal nuisance. Transferred it to state trooper who tells me on the phone it's not his jurisdiction. Did you lose a cat? He says. I was called because you lost the cat. Who the hell wastes time and money to call a state trooper for a lost cat? No, my building was broken into. Illegal entry. Animal cruelty. None of it was listed. Fortunately, I recorded the phone call to discredit what they've written in their report. And that's what they want to do. The goal is to neutralize the target, damage career, and they falsify information to do it. So Thomas Drake, who was an NSA whistleblower, and I don't really know these people, forced out of his job, blacklisted, financially ruined, forced to defend himself against criminal charges, placed under physical and electronic surveillance. Then there was Jean Seberg, the actress and civil rights activist. She was a supporter of the Black Panther Party. She experienced FBI surveillance, harassment, stalking, break-ins, intimidation, defamation, and discrediting. She was a victim of a false FBI story that she was pregnant by a Black Panther Party member while married to a white husband. The stress of this caused the premature delivery of her baby, which died at 2 days of age. The baby was a white, eventually committed suicide. Isn't that horribly sad that our government has a program to torture Americans that they don't like? I mean, look what they did to um, Amy Estridge, whose testimony is on my channel, what they did to her. So then this goes on to talk about Arnold Lokshin. I can't really say the word, the C word, researcher and supporter of socialism. He experienced surveillance, harassment, threats by strangers, break-in, psychological warfare, implied death, deleting threats through the 1970s and 1980s. And I'm reading a document, a testimony of a medical doctor. It's for educational purposes only. He eventually sought asylum from Russia and was immediately fired, blacklisted, accused, and in retrospect of mental instability and deteriorating work performance, notably reported that even his children's classmates and his own father had been brought into a Stasi-like campaign against him and his family. He wrote a book about this ordeal in 1988 called The Silent Terror: One Family's History of Political Persecution in the U.S. The book was never published or distributed in the U.S., but on the web, arnoldlokshin.wordpress.com. By the way, his work, performance, and mental stability in Russia are apparently just fine. So I'll just cut and paste this in the chat in case you're interested in this. Yeah, they were trying to do that. They do try to separate your family. They obviously employed my cousin, one of my cousins, and my brother, one of my brothers. Polar Beast says they're not human. It's not a supernatural force. No one with a soul can do such evil. They must separate from your family. Does anyone still have a family here? It's more corruption than evil. It's a lot of corruption. But corruption is evil. Then there's Adrian Schoolcraft. Adrian's blew the whistle on corruption, wrongful arrests, arrest quotas, and the stop and frisk program in the NYPD in 2009. He received on-the-job harassment and was shunted by the NYPD psychologist. Within 3 weeks after reporting corruption, he was involuntarily committed to a psych ward, handcuffed to a bed, and prevented from using a telephone. He was portrayed as paranoid during his hospital stay, which lasted 6 days. 6. There's that number 6. After discharge, he was suspended from the force without pay. Tapes he had made were eventually reported to the New York Times and others, and he has been largely vindicated. Well, that's interesting. See, this is why when you get media attention, stuff happens, guys. Then there is Dr. Lawrence Doerr, Doerr. He's an orthopedic surgeon. As reported in the New York Times, he wrote an open letter to fellow surgeons in 2008 warning about a flawed hip prosthesis. Subsequently, he became the target of a whisper campaign that questioned his skills and competence as a surgeon. Then there's a Russell Roderick. He insulted a powerful, politically connected firm by refusing continued employment. He's unclear if he was aware of high level wrongdoing. He's been the target of a 25-year multinational campaign, and you will find that these programs are multinational and follow targets wherever they go, including slander, character assassination, allegations of incompetence, paranoia, drug addiction, sexual deviance, and being a deranged suicidal maniac. He experienced blacklisting, financial devastation, isolation, stalking, and overt surveillance, street theater, telephone, computer, and mail tampering, Stasi like manipulation of people into a campaign against him, uh, deleting threats, intimidation, harassment, and a shutdown of all avenues of support. He refers to this as their Zetzung torture. Then there's the Greenham Common Women's Peace protesters. In the 1980s, they were protesting the presence of a U.S. cruise missiles at the Eastern Air Force Base. They came under a microwave attack in 1984, so 4 years later, they came under a microwave attack. Scientists from Electronics Today demonstrated the presence of electromagnetic waves. Dr. Robert Becker, twice nominated for the Nobel Prize, found their symptoms were consistent with exposure to a microwave weapon. Every time a cruise missile convoy was ready to drive by, these women were experiencing severe headaches and unbearable fatigue. Then there's the Greenham Common Women's Peace protesters in the 1980s. They were protesting. Oh, wait. I did that already. Then there is Andy Lewis and friends. A group of former British soldiers became targets of full-on gang stalking in 1996 after attempts to draw attention to what they viewed as unethical. I probably can't even say this. Unethical experimental, the arm ticket candy thingy program that had been given to Gulf War soldiers in 1991. These men had experienced blacklisting, covert harassment, directed energy and psychotronic weapons attacks, overt and covert surveillance, stalking, secret notifications, etc. They made two excellent websites, targetedindividuals.com and gang-stalking.com. I'll copy that. I don't know if they still exist, but I'll link them in the chat. 1 second. Hi, Aaron Andrew. Let's see. I think the guy is fake, and so is the case. He's apparently. Oh, really? Wait. The one that I'm reading about? Has anyone had botched surgeries before you're targeting when covert? So Shelley's asking, has anyone here had any botched surgeries before you're targeting when covert? Polar Bear Bestie says, it's not for nothing. Do all your shadow work, meditate, pray. You must be alone at this time and trust. And then he goes on to say, I'm not religious. I didn't grow up in church, didn't know how to pray. I'm still learning myself, but talking about it helps. Yeah, so I don't know what happened to this doctor, but I would imagine that after speaking out like this, they probably were not happy about it. I mean, he's a medical doctor. Then he goes on to say a long list of 9/11 truth activists have reported being targeted with electromagnetic weapons and, death threats. Some have passed away under suspicious circumstances. U.S. Army Major Doug Roque, Rokke, PhD physics from the University of Illinois, former head of the U.S. Army depleted uranium cleanup project after the Gulf War, says these weapons are very real. They are commonly used in military circles.
Mhm.
He has described how he personally used such weapons on a regular basis while training with special forces at the U.S. Army facilities. We had them mounted to a van, truck mounted, plane mounted, and hand carried. We would go around zapping each other for fun. Oh, yeah, such fun. This was during exercises or sometimes just as a practical joke. Roque further stated that based on his firsthand knowledge of the U.S. military mindset and capabilities, 9/11 truth activists have undoubtedly been targeted by exotic, non lethal, and lethal weapons. So that's pretty serious. And then Jill Hansen, a professional surfer, model, and entrepreneur, she received wide acclaim for her performance in a TED speech in 2010 about her spiritual values and altruistic beliefs, entitled Open Mind, Open Heart. In the talk, she espouses values including compassion, honesty, integrity, generosity, belief in God, charity, hope, faith, and love. She concludes by stating that the world would be a much more beautiful place if we all thought this way. Within weeks after this talk, which received a lot of publicity, she found herself the victim of stalking and electronic harassment. Unbelievable. Fast forward a few years. Unfortunately, in May of 2014, she was charged with attempted homicide for allegedly running over a woman intentionally with her car. TI's report that attempting to get them to act out inappropriately with strangers is a common protocol. TI's report that attempting to get them to act out. Oh, wait, I read that. A couple of interesting facts. None of the news stories mentioned that she considered herself a TI, and interestingly, the local neighborhood watch group's 500 members had been alerted about Hansen, supposedly for reckless driving. A representative of the group was reported as saying, "We need everybody to be on the lookout for her. It's not that crazy." So here we have somebody reporting being a victim of organized stalking, and it turns out that, hello, there was a group of at least 500 people deliberately on the lookout for her. Then there's Ted Gunderson, and I read his affidavit on the channel this week and last week. He worked for the FBI from 1950 to 79, former head of the Los Angeles FBI, where he was in charge of 700 personnel and had a budget of over $22 million. In 79, he was one of the handful interviewed for the job of FBI director, which ultimately went to William H. Webster. He retired and started a new private investigative firm. He became a whistleblower and eventually filed an affidavit. Let's see. In 79, he was one of a handful interviewed for the job of FBI director, which I just read. Let's see. Gunderson explained, "It is my professional opinion, based on information, knowledge, and belief, that the information sought by Mr. Labella in his FOIA suit regarding gang stalking reasonably describes an ongoing active covert nationwide program that is in effect today and has been in effect since at least the 1980s and has increased in scope, intensity, and sophistication by adapting. I just lost my place again. I'm getting tired. Let's see. I just lost that place. As a whistleblower, Gunderson was himself targeted. He experienced whisper campaigns, surveillance, phone tapping, computer hacking, poisonings, group stalking, aerial stalking, and more. Stated that based on his experience, victims are targeted for a variety of reasons, including government and corporate whistleblowers, parties to financial and employment disputes, parties to marital disputes, usually divorced women, even jilted paramours, journalists covering controversial subjects, and even attorneys and private investigators representing unpopular clients or interests. Then he talks about William Binney, an NSA whistleblower. He stated he's well aware of mind control technologies. And there has been a steady increase of mass shootings every year since 2000. From 5 per year until now, about 16 per year. Many of them were complaining of electronic harassment or organized stalking, stating that this led them to attack. This is being largely ignored and covered up by the media. Does a faction of our government actually want gun violence in the US? Perhaps as a pretext to reversing gun rights or even individual rights in general? So then he goes on to discuss the 3 mass shooters. One is Jiverly Wang, a Chinese immigrant. One is Aaron Alexis, the ex-Navy veteran. And then Myron May, the promising young black attorney. Let's see what I'm missing in the chat here. Hi, Angel Puffy Nose. I might have some gang stalkers in here. Oh, that's always a possibility. Hi, Josh. Welcome. That's always a possibility. Sometimes, if they're not disruptive, they can stay. But if they're disruptive, they'll get blocked. I'll put them in timeout or delete them. Let's see, Fred says they don't have to chip your bodies for tracking anymore. They just use your unique brain frequency as an address. That's true. Shelley says more than 3. Shelley says the women probably jumped in front of the car. Yeah, there are several stations with gospel music, and some of the music is quite nice, actually. And then there's other music like harp, and the handpan music is very helpful. Just start talking to Jesus in your prayers like he's your friend, because he truly is. It's absolutely an abuse of power. I think, who's this Angel Puffy Nose? Well, just to give you a heads up, we've got 10 more minutes left. So it's 11:47 p.m. Eastern time here. We've got another 10 minutes. Oh, and somebody please hit the thumbs up because right now it says 33. It says 33. Okay, very good. See, it usually happens when I'm reading. The perpetrators, the stalkers, they take advantage of the fact that I'm reading and not able to read what's going on in the chat, so they get away. They get away with things. Well, thank you, con artist, and thank you always for joining in. I appreciate you guys. No, they're not. They're not held accountable for their actions, and this is what's so deeply disturbing. Like, how is this allowed in our country? And meanwhile, there are criminals that run free. Oh, you're so welcome, Polar Bear. Oh, yes, now there's 38. Oh, good. Good. It's so funny. It's so weird because a lot of times I'll go to look at how many thumbs up I have, and there's like 33. And it's like, no, we can't have just 33. We've got to, they're friends with the criminals. Josh says they're friends with the criminals. Speak positives over your life. Thank God for blessing every aspect of my life, etc. Hi, Mrs. Matson. Welcome, welcome. We're going to be wrapping up in about 10 minutes. So, I was reading a document written by Dr. Daniel Liebowitz, a medical doctor, and he read it before the Senate back in 2016. And then I read something that I saved from Quora like a few years ago. Let me see if I find it again. A lot of times, if I have to toggle back and forth, I end up disconnecting us. Let's see here. Oh, well, thank you so much. You know what it is? It's like there are days when I just want to put the information out there, and then there are other times when I'm just so tired and I have so much to do on the property, and it just gets so upsetting. I really need to be filing more complaints, but I have to be in the mood. It's like my whole life is having to complain about everything between my postal deliveries, my food deliveries, what they're doing to my animals. It's like one thing after the next, after the next. I mean, it happens to you guys too. So sometimes at night, the last thing I feel like doing is filing another complaint, even though I have to. I've got 3 complaints to file against 3 landscapers, and I am going to do it. I just don't feel like it. I'm not in the mood. I have to be in the mood, and then I'll just, pump them out all at one time. Oh yeah, the contractors. That was the one. That was the one. 1 second. But it was on Laura. Oh, here it is. Contractors by Michael Loris. Yes, I'll read it one more time because it's just that one big paragraph. The private intelligence contractors of the military industrial intelligence complex and the international banking cartel have absolutely ruined our nation and are fully responsible for bringing us to this point. These men and women are terrorists, traffickers, frame up artists, assassins, money launderers, and spies. They have betrayed the American people and placed all of our lives in very serious danger By fomenting this war and manipulating and engineering everything we have lived through since the 2016 election. These contractors are war criminals. They also targeted and framed thousands upon thousands of totally innocent U.S. citizens starting several years before the election to prepare a mass incarceration event of citizen whistleblowers, individuals feared to know too much about their activities, political opponents, and others who were either simply in the wrong place or the wrong time, or selected based upon assumptions of their DNA and genealogical history. Some of their victims were selected to be patsied through electronic fraud, planting of fabricated evidence, deep fakes, stage encounters, some with foreign assets, who posed as that other than they were to just trick the targets into interacting with them so that FISAs could be launched. Voice morphing technology, which is extremely inexpensive in today's world. These rogue intel contractors are all guilty of crimes against humanity. These targets were set up to be taken as fall guys, collateral, and prisoners of war. Thank you for the reminder, the con artist, that it was about the contractors. Yes, yes. So Matson says, hello, everybody. It's been a crazy summer. Can't even imagine how to convince any of you the extent of the advanced technology they have and use on us. I feel like I've been transported to the Twilight Zone. Hi, Osin. Welcome, welcome. Well, actually, they use a lot of electricity. I mean, they do some weird stuff with insects. They can control the insects to walk all in one line. Like, I witnessed it. I should have videotaped it. It was like the ants were marching in one line across my wall. They came out of nowhere. I mean, they definitely have a thing going on with insects. Is that normal, Joey? Ants walking in a line across across the wall. I don't know. It wasn't normal to me. It was almost like a skit show. I had a little gang stalking ants. Joey says, yeah, they do that. And when I water, they pick up their babies and move up the hose. Really? Oh, the bees do that too? I haven't seen very many bees. Oh, forget those wasps. I can't stand those things. And right now, I have a hornet's nest that I am like avoiding like the plague. I sprayed it a couple of times, but I'm not getting close enough to get these creatures. Maybe I'll just wait for it to get really cold and they'll all die. Let's see. Biggie says, watch out for the flying insects. I got bit by something a couple of weeks ago and had a very bad effect on it. I believe you. Yes, I believe that. Well, Bill from the Gates of Hell in Florida was releasing those mosquitoes. Check this out. I'm writing what happens. Okay. A business owner says the march in Washington, D.C. Targeted individuals need to go after shareholders of the companies. Hit the money, the only language they understand. Well, how do we know which shareholders of which companies? How do we know which companies? Are you talking about like Lockheed Martin and Boeing and these other companies? How do we know for sure? And all of our targeting is different. Life is very hard. It is very hard. Like I had mentioned earlier in the chat that, I know that wherever you move, it follows you. But my life was infinitely easier in New Jersey because I'd lived there so long. I loved my house. I had a lot more space. I still had friends all over. And, they can't get the entire 47,000 people or whatever it was in my town to go after one person. But in this town of less than 800 people, they could get the whole town. And it's going to cost them a hell of a lot less money because the cost of living here is so low. Wait, a wasp nest was being attacked by ants? Oh, I need to get some ants for the wasp nest. Oh, Matson, you mentioned that before about that insect that you found. Oh, right, that's that fog in Florida. That was reported across the internet about the sinus infections that people had there. So Joey says a wasp nest was being attacked by ants. The majority of the wasps are huddled by the queen, away from the hive being invaded by the ants. I put my hand to the one wasp that had smelled me and started help. Oh. I don't know, the ants, the insects around here are ridiculous. There's so many spiders, spider webs. The ants only appear in my kitchen sink because that's where they dump them. They dump them on my kitchen counter. I never see ants outside. I've never seen ants walking around outside anywhere. They're only in my kitchen because they're dumped here. Oh, well, that's weird. I need some ants to get rid of the wasps here. Still a lot of normal people and you've met several women our age who are also being targeted. They really go after women. I mean, it's been stated so many times that 72 to 76% of the people on these lists are women. Oh, you have ants in the living room carpet. I haven't seen any bees. Like they're actually getting rid of the bees. Like I was listening to Off Grid with Doug and Stacy, I guess a couple of weeks ago, and they're like trying to jab the bees and getting rid of the hives with the chemicals. Like, why do you want to do this? I mean, we need bees to pollinate the flowers and for honey. Ants don't like talcum powder. Well, you know what I keep by the kitchen sink? Food grade diatomaceous earth. I have it like in a shaker. They don't like that either. Yeah, so I use that. And in fact, in New Jersey, I was able to get rid of an entire wasp's nest with food grade diatomaceous earth. I know. I know. No bees, no. And I love honey too. No bees, no food. They need to pollinate. Oh, ants don't like salt. What about wasps and hornets? Like, what's the best way to get rid of those creatures? Ants like sugar and borax? Yeah, the wasp nest will definitely go away when the weather gets cold. And actually during the day it's been like in the 80s and then the temperature's dropping 30 degrees at night. Like it vacillates between being very cool and being a lot warmer during the day. Hi, Vivi. I know, I have not seen any bees. Oh, you have a jar full of wasps. I would not keep those things. Birds. I don't know. Nobody's eating these guys, and they're just making a nest bigger and bigger and bigger. I don't like them. I've been stung too many times by these wasps. But anyway, it's just a little bit after midnight. I just want to say thank you, everybody, for joining in. I appreciate every one of you guys. I'm going to sign off. Yes, I stay strapped. I'm still live, but I'm signing off now because we've been live for 2 hours now, and I'm tired. And I'm going to say goodnight to everybody. And just remember, if you join in the chat next week or whatever, it's at 10 p.m. Eastern time, usually 10 until midnight. Okay? Boston Hornets, you're right to beware. Need professional attention. Otherwise, diesel, patrol, flame. Fill the nest at night. Yes, body protection. Yes, that's what I do. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining in and hitting the thumbs up, etc., etc. I appreciate every one of you guys. If you ever need anything or any documents that I read, you could always email me at alternativehomesteading@gmail.com. Here, let me just type it in for you guys. Oops. Hey, good night, everybody. I'm going to sign off for now. And thank you, everybody, for the great information. Matt's okay. Your nephew is an entomologist professor, saw him at your sister's 70th birthday party, had a picture of him, said what it looked like. Hi, Mark Rands. The tracking isn't as high tech as you think. They track you with GPS on your phone. They will tag your clothes with pens. Blue shirt, blue pen, green shirt, green pen. Oh, interesting. I'm gonna have to check that out. That's very interesting. Well, thank you for that information, Mark. That they track you with your clothing. They'll use pens the color of your shirts. Very interesting. Well, anyway, good night, everybody, and prayers to everybody. And thank you all for listening and subscribing and for helping the channel grow and everything. And stay strong and continue collecting evidence and speaking out. I'm going to sign off for now, guys.